Good morning นะครับ everyone. How are you this morning ครับ Okay, how is my voice? Do you hear me clearly, everyone? We are going to continue talking about what we studied from the last class. On the last class, we talk about the financial functions. The financial functions. Okay. We begin with PMT function or the payment function. The payment function is a function that we use in order to calculate the payment when we have the loan on the bank from the bank or when we would like to invest our money to the bank นะครับ so when we talk about the financial functions in the first series here there are altogether 5 related functions or 5 related values altogether that are PMT or the payment FV or future value N per or number of period PV or present value and rate that is interest rate when we have to use one of these function the rest of the functions will work as the argument for that function and when you have to enter or prepare the value for the arguments to calculate the value or the output of that function one thing that we have to do is that you have to set the value for those arguments to match with the period that you pay the money or you invest the money for example in the first example that we had for the payment function. In this one, you can see that we are asked to find out the monthly payment of the loan So that means in here we have we would like to request a loan for $50,000 So in this case, you can see that we have to prepare this kind of or this set of the arguments when we have the loan for 50,000 that means you have to consider that okay at the moment that you request for the loan the money is with you so it is PV or present value that is with you is $50,000 and bear in mind that when the money is with you is into your pocket the positivity of that value must be positive so you can see that this one present value in here is $50,000 when we say that we want to pay off the debt or the loan in full that means on the last day when you finish the contract um, the money that you owe the debt is $0 $0 that means future value or FV in this case is 0 because you want to pay off the debt after that we said that we want to pay in over 5 years this one you have to make sure that when it is 5 years number of period will be related to the period of time but you cannot enter 5 years straight away as this problem you want to pay monthly the period that you have to set up must be monthly must be number of months so that means you have to convert from 5 years to be number of months first in this case I multiply 5 years by 12 months as each year has 12 months so there will be 60 months n per or number of period is 60 months after that the interest rate it is 5% per year this one is important as well because as I told you that when you have to talk about the monthly payment and we say that okay we want to pay per month that means for every single argument that is related to the time you have to convert the unit to be per month as well or number of months as well so in this case the rate from 5% per year you have to change it to be you have to change it to be the interest rate per month so that means you have to divide this 5% by 12 so that it will be monthly rate it will be monthly rate in here I just like divide the 5% by 12 in here. And lastly, the last argumentนะครับ, in the most of the financial function is about the type. You have to know that whenever we would like to pay the money, okay, let's have a look. In each month, we have the first day of month and last day of month. That might be 28 days, 29 days, 30 days, or 31 days, depends on what month you are paying. So you can pay two different on two different time only, either the beginning of the month or either the end of the month. Why don't we say that, okay, what about like paying on the 15th of each month? That is exceptionsนะครับ. If we say that we would like to pay on 15th of each month, you cannot use this series of functionsนะครับ. You have to use like another series of functions insteadนะครับ. That is not included in this classนะครับ. So in this case it's not possibleนะครับfor using this series of functions to calculate. After that, apart from payment นะครับ per month นะครับ if you say that you want to pay it quarterly, there will be like two possible ways that you can pay as well. The first one นะครับ you pay at the beginning of the quarter. Suppose we said that, okay, this is Q1 นะครับ this is Q2, this is Q3 นะครับ and this is Q4 of each year. When you pay at the beginning of the quarter, that means you pay here on the first day that quarter starts. And if you say that you would like to pay at the end of the quarter, you pay on the last day of the quarter before the next quarter start. For example นะครับ if you would like to know that which day นะครับ which date that we pay in quarter นะครับ or we count the quarter, the first quarter start from the 1st of January นะครับ and ended with 31st of March นะครับ and quarter two start from 1st of April นะครับ and ended with 30th of June นะครับ 30th of June, while quarter three start from 1st of July นะครับ and ended at 30th of September นะครับ while the 1st of October until the 31st of December will be the first day and the last day of the quarter นะครับ these are the days that we normally pay the debts นะครับ or pay for investment if you have to use these functions to calculate นะครับ so that means it's impossible for using these functions directly if you say that you want to pay at the mid of the quarter, something like that นะครับ in this case it's not included in these functions. So when you know that the nature of payment นะครับ for this series of function, you can pay at the beginning of the period or at the end of the period. That comes to the argument that you have to use, that is the type นะครับ the type of argument here นะครับ we use zero นะครับ if you have to pay at the end of the period นะครับ and if you see that in the function syntax, it said that, okay, zero if omitted. What does it mean? Okay, let me just show you in this one ครับ if you just like go to the PMT function and then you just like click OK, you can see that when you click on the type, it said that, okay, zero period equals to zero or omitted. Omitted, when we use this word นะครับ or this term in Excel, it means that if you not exclude, if you just like ignore that cell or ignore that value and you don't enter anything. For example, in this box, if you don't enter anything to the type box, that means you are omitting that value. If you don't enter the value or if you omit that value นะครับ for the type นะครับ that means you intend to pay at the end of the period นะครับ so this is the meaning. So why Excel? Why does Excel just like assume that if you omit the value, it's equal to 0 or pay at the end of the period. Because normally most of the people or most of the company, they pay at the end of the month or they pay at the end of the quarter. The reason is because at the beginning of the quarter and the mid of the quarter, they find the money first and then they pay at the end of the month. And at the end of the month is also the period that the company pay for the salary of their employees as well. So the payment should be at the similar period of time. While some of the company say that, okay, no, I want to pay at the beginning of the period. For example, I find the money first for the whole month. I pay the money, I pay the salary to my employees first at the end of the month. And on the next month, first day, I pay back to the bank. So that is the reasons why some of the company, they say that they would like to pay at the beginning of the period. So why do you have to consider or concern the type of payment? The reason is because the amount of the interest will be different. If you pay at the beginning of the period, for example, you borrow the money of the bank on the 1st of May, and then you would like to, you say that, okay, you would like to pay at the beginning of the period. On the 1st of May, the interest will be calculated, but it's 0 because you just borrow the money today. On the first day, the first day you don't have the interest. And also, when we talk about the interest on June, on the 1st of June, that you have to pay the money to the bank. Let's consider if you pay the bank on 31st of May, compare with pay to the bank on the 1st of June, the interest will be different. Even one day, the interest amount is calculated and it's different. That's why you have to specify in your formula that whether you would like to pay at the beginning of the period or at the end of the period. So that comes to the reasons of the type. Okay, so in this case, you can see that we have paid at the end of each month. So in this case, it is 0. Oh, and one thing that I just want to let you know is that on the last class, somebody just asked me that if we pay at the mid of the month, will the type be 0.5? There are two answers. The first one, it's impossible. As I told you that the formula that we study in this class is the introduction to the financial functions. You can choose whether you would like to pay at the beginning or at the end of the period only. You cannot choose on the mid of the period. That is the first reason. Second reason is that these values, the value of 0 or 1 here, we call this kind of value as this one. This value as logical value. The logical value, if we just like see the root of this term is the logic, is the value about the logic. What does it mean? It means that it is true or false, yes or no, 0 or 1, on or off only. These are what we call logical value. So that's why it is not the real number. Then you cannot have like 0.5, 0.2 or something. So it is 0 or 1 only. We will learn about logical value more when we finish the financial function series. Okay. So in this example, you can see that we have formulated these functions by setting all of the arguments here. And after that, the next thing we did on the last class was that we calculate the PMT functions by just like enter all of these values. So once you calculate, you can see that the intermediate result is showing for negative 943.56. What does it mean? If you see just this value, it means that each month you have to pay $943.56. What does it mean by negative value? The negative value here means that when the money is out of your pocket, it must be negative. นะครับ compare with the PV or present value on the first day of the loan you receive the money from the bank for $50,000 so that's why it's positive นะครับ so negative 943.56 is not wrong นะครับ as long as it is amount of money นะครับ the positivity นะครับ of these values นะครับ of these currency tell us about the state of the money is it incoming or is it outgoing from the pocket นะครับ okay because in the next examples you will see like the amount of money that is negative values นะครับ so you will not be surprised if it is negative นะครับ it's not wrong at all wow some of the values that you have to consider they cannot be negative for example number of period it's a time นะครับ it cannot be negative นะครับ it will always be positive rate interest rate will always be positive as well นะครับ okay and for the type นะครับ it's just like logical value it cannot be negative นะครับ okay so that's why there are just like PV FV or PMT that three of them might be the negative values นะครับ depends on the state of the money right okay so that was the first example that we studied from the last class นะครับ so today we'll begin with the next example นะครับ for the next example this one I'll just like copy the problems text for you นะครับ okay so in this one นะครับ I just like type the text problem in the chat box already this is the quarterly payments นะครับ the things I want you to try นะครับ I want you to warm up with this example นะครับ I want you to find out the quarterly payments from this example นะครับ this one I give you 3 minutes นะครับ 3 minutes to find out the quarterly payments in this example ครับ just do it by yourself ครับ everyone when you have the answer already นะครับ you may type your answer in the chat box so that we can just like see that you finished already or whether it's correct or not we will compare the answers together ครับ and then we'll discuss okay if you have the answer already please type your answer in the chat box ครับ so that I know that you finished already so now we start having the first answer already is negative 637.37 that's good okay what about others do you get the answer yet if you get the answer already just type your answer in the chat box all right time's up so we have just one student who answered in the chat box here okay the next one third one okay right so we have just like quite a variety of answers นะครับ now let's see นะครับ for this one okay right okay so right now it seems like I see the trends already นะครับ majority of you enter as negative 644.22 some of you might answer differently นะครับ no worries just see นะครับ how we do it นะครับ thanks for students who just like answer นะครับ for what you did and let's see นะครับ okay in this one let's analyze the problem first นะครับ you are asked to find out quarterly payments นะครับ in this case that means you have to use PMT if it's applicable นะครับ so in this one นะครับ make sure if you have to use or if you plan to use the PMT function นะครับ there are two assumptions that I told you on the last class the first one you have to pay equally that means it's constant payment every time that you pay you have to pay equally for example if your answer is 644.22 that means every quarter you have to pay 644.22 all the time นะครับ next interest rate must be constant so if the bank charge you 3.5% per year นะครับ from the first quarter that means on the last quarter they still need to charge you 3.5% interest rate if the bank said that okay on the first year they charge you 3.5% but on the second year they charge you 3.75% then you cannot use this function straight away so what should we do you may have to split the time into two different slots the first slot is the first year that the bank charge you 3.5% นะครับ then you calculate the payment on the first year first after that on the second year you calculate again but it's the payment on the second year that the interest rate is changed to be 3.75% นะครับ this is the applying of the function to be used when the interest rate is just like fluctuated okay right now let's see นะครับ when you ask to find quarterly payments in here that means we have to use PMT function so I just list out all the arguments นะครับ that PMT need to use here next it's a quarterly payment so we have to keep in mind that in this problem everything that we have to think about the time must be in quarterly basis นะครับ okay current value is 0 นะครับ current value here is PV นะครับ present value what's the difference between this example and the previous example the previous example was asking for a loan from the bank you borrow the money from the bank นะครับ so that's why PV is positive number while this one you invest that means on the first day when you start investing นะครับ in here the money is not with you it said that it's $0 so that's why the PV is here นะครับ okay and then in this problem we said that we would like to reach $5,000 so to reach 5,000 that means in the future when the time pass you want 5,000 then you just type 5,000 นะครับ be careful นะครับ as we discussed on the very first class I told you that for currency values do not enter dollar sign by yourself นะครับ if you need dollar sign you have to use the format cells to format the cell to have the dollar sign otherwise if you type dollar sign 5,000 it will become the text that is non-calculatable value or non-calculatable cell immediately นะครับ and all the calculation will be wrong now for the next one นะครับ over 2 years so that is talking about the number of period you have to change the 2 years to be number of quarters so in this one as 1 year has like 4 quarters so you multiply 2 years with 4 quarters then you get 8 quarters นะครับ after that interest rate is 3.5% per year นะครับ so that means you have to convert the rate to be rate per quarter as well นะครับ so the rate 3.5% นะครับ when you would like to change it to be the quarterly basis as you know that in 1 year we have 4 quarters then you have to divide the rate by 4 นะครับ to get like the quarterly rate lastly payment made at the start of each quarter นะครับ similar to the previous problem นะครับ for the type we have just 0 or 1 only if you pay at the beginning of the period the type must be 1 sorry the type must be 1 then we start calculating the PMT นะครับ from these facts okay I go to PMT and then I enter all the values so let's see the intermediate result ครับ it is showing is as negative 685 นะครับ so in this one it means that you have to pay out because it is negative values นะครับ pay out 685 นะครับ okay so in this one I just set up the sales a bit to be shown as the US dollars okay. Currency right okay so in here นะครับ you can see that the PMT นะครับ is negative 685 that means you have to pay out นะครับ you have to pay out every quarter นะครับfor $600.85 นะครับ I type per quarter. Okay, I just like enter the unit so that I will not forget what it means นะครับ okay for rate นะครับชนาการ we have to divide it by 4 because it's the basic rate that it tell us it's percent per year. We have to change to be quarter. And for n per, because we have to pay it in 2 years, then we have to find out number of quarters in 2 years. Then we multiply by 4 นะครับ okay so this is the calculation for this example นะครับ so right now some of you who get the different answer นะครับ it might be because you may just like divide นะครับ rate wrongly or you may just like make the n per to be different quarter so that's why it shows like different values นะครับ so make sure นะครับ that for the rate or n per from year if you would like to change to be quarters you have to divide by 4 or multiply by 4 only นะครับ not by 3 because in 1 year we have 4 quarters นะครับ okay so this is the the payments นะครับ the payment function for investment and also from the previous example it was about the loan นะครับ so any questions about the PMT functions okay so if you don't have any question now นะครับ let's move on to the next function นะครับ